Welcome to Morally End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by my cousin who's in Europe, Dominic, and I'm joined by Madushka Balasuriya from ESPNCricinfo, which is part of the reason why we're slightly late. Not that I was on the floor crying, not that didn't know what to say, was distraught, not that I was thinking how this game is the silliest game. Why do I do this to myself? It was because Madushka was on the ball by ball, so he needed a few moments to finish off, to be able to come and chat to us and to chat to all of you. We are doing this, I want to say minutes, but yeah, minutes after Sri Lanka lost
Yeah.
the third T20 against Bangladesh, lost the series. I'm disappointed. I'm sure we're all disappointed. This is our kind of group therapy, our kind of open door, sit down, vent in frustration. Obviously, in the comments, no bigotry, none of that. You've already left us loads of comments. We'll get to them shortly. Dom, we've heard from you a lot during this series. So, Madushka, I'll come to you first. What are you kind of feeling like at the moment? What's going on in your head?
I think when you cover a lot of Sri Lanka cricket, you start to almost detach yourself from the emotional great of following them. I have WhatsApp groups where my sister, cousins, friends, they're on it. It's a support group. It's literally called the. It started as the ICC Cricket World Cup support group, and that's what it is now. It's just a support group where we just type and help each other through this. But I've realized that as the time has gone, I'm not as emotionally invested in this. So I like to think I have a bit of a dispassionate view of it. So because of that, I do see a lot of positives, even though it might not seem like that. Yes, we've had two pretty poor batting performances in the last two T20Is. And even in the first one, that was an incredible power play. But after that, people were not very happy with how, you know, they took it a little easy. They took it to the end. They could have finished that off inside 15 overs quite easily, but they took it to the death. So there's been good and bad, but I think we've got a few fundamental pieces in place, especially for the T20 side. We just need to figure out how to get it all working together. We've got the top board. I think you've got Kusal, you've got Pathum. That's our opening pair. Right. Asalanka in the middle. Done. Hasaranga, if he's fit, done. Tikshana, done. Then you got your seamers. Are we gonna stick with Binura and Tushara? I like Binura, I like Tushara. Can you play them together? I don't know because you're not playing Patirana, you're not playing Isham Malinga. And today, we really could have used some of that extra pace just to get something there, just to disrupt the batting a little bit, just to get them a little bit uncomfortable because we didn't have. Who were we bringing on when the partnership was going? We're bringing on Kamidu Mendes and Charita Salanka. Like, y- uh, I mean, Kamidu nearly got the breakthrough. Like, he would have got two. He would have got both the set batters somehow with basically long hops. But yeah, I think we've got about 70% there, but we need to figure out that 3 and 4, and we need to figure out the pace bowling. That is it for me. But we have the parts, so I'm positive
So,
on that.
so I'll tell you what I am with it, right? And then I'll come to you, Dom, to get your thoughts. I kind of think we've crashed out. We haven't done much at the last few T20 tournaments or ICC World T20 World Cups. I don't know why I keep insisting calling them ICC. At the last few World Cups for two reasons, right? Basically, our batting isn't able to kind of accelerate and score through. And B, on top of all that, not only are we struggling, but also we just let those dot balls build up, and that puts such great pressure on us. And ends up with our players playing across the line, giving their wickets away cheaply, doing kind of silly things. I kind of feel that what we're trying to see today, or what we've seen the last week with this current side, is I agree with you, Madushka, and all those players that you said were kind of the jigsaw kind of slowly coming together. I kind of think that there are players and there is a solution around our dot ball issues and our scoring issues. And even, we've talked all, for weeks and weeks now about who are kind of who our pace bowlers should be for when we actually have to get to the tournament. I was theorising that this was a kind of audition for a lot of players. Now that we've lost it, and T20 cricket is a game of quite fine margins. That game today, easily we could have won. There was several scenarios in that when we are, we get to over, was it 14 or 15, and we'll just get over 100, and you're like, they could easily get over 140 here. Then Kamindu gets out, then Van der Sey gets out, and then actually credit to Bangladesh, and I hate saying that because Bangladesh cricket team is alongside the Manchester United team, they're my two kind of sporting enemies. But credit to them today because they made it really difficult for our batters. They kept Tikshana on facing many more balls than Sri Lanka would have wanted them to, right? And that was a kind of strategy that they had. And I think the two things irritated me today is when it got tough, we kind of let Bangladesh run away with it. We let the pressure come onto us. But secondly, I just thought it was quite obvious. I'll come to you about this, Dom, about that too many times. It looked like we were just sending players out to bat or to bowl even, and there was no real plan. We hadn't really thought about what Bangladesh are bringing to the table. We haven't thought about what they might do against us when they're bowling. I saw Prad Navaratnam, who's actually due in Murali next week. He talked about that, and I keep going back to what are the brain centre doing? What is the analysis doing? If you stop any casual cricket fan on the street, and God bless him, and I absolutely love him, and I adore the man, and he looks great. He's the real deal. But not many casual cricket fans off the back of the IPL have put Banura Fernando in a Sri Lankan T20 11 at this moment in time. Somehow he's on the pitch. I'm willing to give SLC the benefit of the doubt, but I think as fans, Dom, it's only fair that we get some kind of answers to why we seem to be having these issues and what exactly also why these 11s are being put together.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. So Madushka, I agree that the pieces are in place. So we have a top order that can score. We have someone in Asalanka who can provide that middle order impetus. We've got and one thing that comes through loud and clear whenever Wanindu doesn't play is how important he is to our squad as a batter, as a middle overs threat, all those things. And Thikshana, I would add now after Dasan Shanaka's last over, I think he's going to play a key role going forward because he's one of the few guys who can actually provide that end overs impetus for us. We actually do need that. But we have to look at the captaincy and the management. Madushka, you might have put this in your Cricinfo preview, but 9 out of the last 10 T20s played at the Premadasa, the team batting first has lost. And there was possibility of rain. The decision to bat first makes no sense to me. And misreading the Premadasa pitch also, it's a home pitch that you've played on fairly recently. This is just, it's unacceptable. And then the coaching decision to not play your two elite seamers, Eshan Malinga and Letitia Patirana, were the best of the best in the IPL at the death. And we don't have them there. They're strike force bowlers. We're not playing them. It's incredibly frustrating to see the talent that we have being mismanaged and misused.
Just one thing on the toss, right? Sanath and the current manager have a bit of form, which I could not take this toss. They did that a lot last year. They've done it somewhere else recently as well, where they've won the toss.
Is anyone else having trouble with Mark's mic?
I'm having trouble with Mark's. I'm having trouble with Mark's audio. Yeah.
Hold on. I'll go mute, but Madushka, do you want to, if you two keep talking amongst yourself, and then I'll fix this.
Okay.
So
what did you think of, since you were to the situation, what did you think, Madushka, of the decision to bat first?
Yeah, listen, I was pretty stunned. I think if you go back to my ball by ball, you'd look at it. I rewrote what I was going to say because What I originally wrote was Asalanka has looked at the stats and basically said stuff that
Yeah.
it's, they've. I was just looking through, and it's just one win in 10 anyone chasing. And if you just watched just the ODIs, it's so clear that this, like, the older the ball gets, it gets stickier, which means you're just so much better off having a target in mind and pacing your innings based on that. And like you said,
Mhm.
rain was a possibility. It didn't come to transpire, but it was a possibility. So it was a strange move. Asalanka, in the end, in his post match, he did say they had misread the pitch. So there was a bit of honesty there. But again, it's I suppose what I was.
It's worrying though, right? I mean, if our captain comes out in our home pitch in the capital city, where so many of them have played so much cricket before, and goes, "We misread the pitch," then you got to worry about if they go anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. What the hell is going to happen?
So that's happened quite a bit. I think there were pitches misread during the World Cups.
Yeah.
This is not the
In,
first
in
time it's.
England, right? In the England Test series, they did it,
Yeah,
right?
Misread Lords, yeah.
that was pretty bad. And I think what the vibe I'm getting listening to Asalanka and listening to kind of like when Dhananjaya talks, whoever it is, I'm getting an understanding of what's going on. And I think there's an idea of, okay, what are we comfortable doing as a team? Let's pursue that. And then on the other side, you probably have your data analysts giving you the information, and then
Yeah.
the players just like, yeah, that's good. But, I'm really comfortable doing this. We've got a good bowling attack. We can defend. It's the Khetara. And then so they buy into this. There's a confirmation bias taking place. And Sanath has always been the players' administrator. He was like that when he was a selector. And even now, you get the sense that he is almost hesitant to push against if a majority want something a certain way. And you kind of worry that they might be making decisions based on maybe false confidence, maybe fear. It's just so hard to
Yeah.
understand at times.
That's
I you see, I wonder how, because I was surprised about the visceral reaction to Avishka's first two innings in the first two matches, right? There was quite a visceral reaction amongst the fans. I understand that obviously the three of us are currently on the precipice of where kind of fan reaction is and where kind of journalism is, right?
Yeah.
I think art, like, if you're going to be brutal about it, Sri Lanka fans do go OTT sometimes about things, but I was surprised at some of the sides coming out of the kind of Sri Lanka cricket camp about Avishka, and I was even surprised actually when I woke up this morning. It was a morning game for me. That they ended up dropping him in the end because it is. I think it's symptomatic of the kind of the thinking within the camp of a kind of us against, when things go wrong, it very quickly becomes a kind of us against them mentality. Except them is actually Sri Lanka fans, right? It's us in a way. I don't know, Madushka, you're much closer to the team for your job. You have to kind of interact with them. Do
Yeah.
you get that sense, or do you think that it's a kind of happy camp and that they are happy to manage the way the fans react around them?
I think there is definitely, yeah, they definitely care what the fans think. um Kusal Mendes said so after the 2023 World Cup when they had the whole introspection over here where Mahela came and spoke for like an hour and a half. And Kusal Mendes, he said something which I think got kind of swept under the rug by a lot of like local media. But he basically asked the fans, listen, you guys get on our back when we perform badly. But we would really love it if you make some TikTok videos of our best performances, make the highlights packages, put it up there, and build us up. So there's clearly that thought process within within the team where they just want that fan support and they really love it when they get it and they thrive off it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword.
I remember that Kusal Mendes comment, and I think when Kusal talks about this is something he deeply feels because he has been the butt of so many jokes, of so much mockery, and you wonder, right? We've seen how he's sort of turned his career around. You wonder if the support systems were in place, the psychological support, emotional support. It
It,
makes you, yeah. Go ahead.
no, sorry. I really don't think it was. I don't think these guys are given any sort of social media
Yeah.
management or any sort of psychological help when it comes to these things. Maybe it is now, but it's not been made aware. It's not been publicized.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel for Avishka as well.
Yeah.
I
He's a
feel
new
for
dad.
Anushka.
He's a very talented player. I remember watching him during that breakthrough World Cup in 2019,
Mhm.
and I don't think I've ever felt as excited seeing a young batter just come in and take apart talent on English wickets with the ball
Yeah.
coming on. He was just dispatching it all over the place. I was so excited to see him, and I know that talent is in there somewhere. And I can see shades of Kusal Mendes from a couple of years ago
Mhm.
in Avishka. And I'm just like, okay, so Kusal's come out the other end. He somehow got his head clear and he's playing a very natural game. Even the shot he got out today, I have no issues with that.
Yeah.
He just
Brett,
a
that's
little
that's
bit more power, he would have got it through, right?
yeah.
And he would have been on his bike. Avishka just seems like he's so conflicted. He comes
Mm.
there and he's defending like that entire knock in that first T20. It was so painful to watch. I'm just like, dude, this match is won. Just go and just play your
This is the
natural game.
license, right?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
are you doing?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I agree with that. I think, honestly, what you see in the batting is that reflected. The guys who have the confidence and in their games figure Charith, that's where we get reliable performances. And the chopping and changing that's been going on at 3, 4, and 6. Personally, and I'd love to hear both of your opinions on this. I think we should probably give Kamindu the 3 slot from now till the World Cup. What do we lose by putting him there? He's a natural player of pace. Um, Obviously, he has the talent for the game. He has the talent to play it, and the more games you get him, the more he's going to do. 4 remains an open question to me, but I think that 4 and 6 is going to be the spot. I think there's no one else stand up and saying, "Put me at 3. I'm going to do the job." And Kamindu is an investment for the future. He looked very good today before he got out. He absolutely smoked a 6 that looked fantastic. And I think the more chances we give him, he's one of those guys, especially given where the team is, he should be given almost unlimited rope.
So for me, I think we often talk about how. And we've talked about this in Avishka's being one of the people we've talked most bit about this, where it's like at the top end of international cricket, it's not good enough just to have the talent. You need to have the mentality for it as well. We've seen Kusal the last few years. Kusal Mendes has figured it out in his head, and he's able to more or less perform to the talent he's given. Patam and Asalanka perform to the talent he's given. I also think that there is a kind of subgroup of player where you're like, right, they don't necessarily have the skill set, or it doesn't seem to us like at this point in their career, they necessarily have the skill set for T20 cricket. But once they're at the crease, whether we're bat in hand or ball in hand, they're going to figure it out. They're going to somehow kind of understand what they need to do and just either sit through for 5 overs and just go at 5 or 6 runs and over, score big runs at the end of an over, steady the ship, somehow buy a wicket if they're one of the 8 slow arm all rounders that Sri Lanka seem to have at any one time. And that is the kind of player where I kind of get the impression that this current management isn't necessarily overly convinced with. And there's 2 players or 3 players really that come to mind instantly, which is kind of Kamindu, Dustin Sharnaker, and Dennis Walalage, where maybe they don't have one out and out defining skill set in T20 cricket at least, but you kind of think if given an opportunity, those guys are like action men, right? They're like all action guys, and when you win, it's going to be they're going to do something extraordinary, and they like we saw what Dustin did today at the end of the innings, right? That final over, or when they lose, you know that somehow these guys are going to get the blame for it. But I kind of think definitely what Kaminda and you know, I'm a big fan of Will Alagay, and it's mainly because I think it's what you see from his mentality. The fact it's like the man's got magnets in his hands, like a ball magnet, that he's always involved in it. And I think those are the players that at this stage, this close to the World Cup, maybe you just go, right, Kaminda, you're in. Like you are kind of Mr. Fix It at the moment. We're not quite sure where we're going to bat you yet, but let's try a different load of things. Let's figure it out. I just think it's extraordinary coming into this series. The only, you know, considering the LPL was almost a year ago, that they're picking players in LPL form. Like, you know, bless the LPL. I love it more than the average bear, and bless the players who score loads of runs in it. But surely you go, well, the IPL only ended a few weeks ago. Guys who are doing it in the IPL could probably do it. Probably do it against Bangladesh.
To be fair, uh, both KJP and Chandimal have been picked on PSL form, which is very recent. That said, I 100% agree with you on Kamidu and Dunit and Dasun. We'll put Dasun and Kamidu aside for a minute, just on Dunit because he didn't get a game. I thought this would be the game that he gets a game.
Yeah.
At the Ketarama.
He's done it. That's his backyard. That's what he's done. Like, he's done this before, and you just had like I was already envisioning Velalage just running through this Bangladeshi batting lineup through those middle overs like he does. But I just feel like we've missed a trick. Okay, he's young, so it's not totally detrimental yet. I'm not sure exactly, but he's in his early 20s, if I'm not mistaken. But that said, the minute the last World Cup ended, we should have just put all our eggs in his basket and just said, okay, we're going to play Belalage in every white ball format, whether the pitch suits him or not. Just get this guy playing. Because I was watching Jadeja play against England the other day, and I'm just thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, we've got a guy with this exact mentality. I'm not saying Velalage is going to be Jadeja, because Jadeja is an all-timer. All right, he's incredible. But we have a guy that's got this mentality that you could picture him just batting it out with the tail and just doing the business. And you're just like, this is who you want. And so what if he has to bowl on wickets that aren't suiting him? He'll work on his revs. He'll get that spin. He'll do it. When I was watching Mahdi Hassan, I'm like, which one of our bowlers is going to bowl like that? He was bowling, I think every delivery was in the 90s. He's getting the revs, he's getting the turn, and then you have it over here, and you're just like, okay, Tikshana was off form today. I love Tikshana. He was off form, bad day. And my God, don't talk to me about his fielding today. It was pretty subpar. But again, it can be worked on. But Velalage, big miss. You got to play him.
So
obviously, drop. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, Madushka, when you step back and think that they named this team and they tried 13 or 14 different players. And the three guys who did not play were Matisha Patirana, Eshan Malinga, and Dunith Walalage. That tells me what I need to know about management.
In Sri Lankan cricket, the best thing you could do for your reputation is not play games. Like, get into squads and don't play, because all those players, we come away from it thinking, well, they could have done us a job, right?
Yeah. And Hello says, it was heartbreaking to see the bench today. Our young talents didn't get a single chance to show themselves. And I mean, it's a third game, and I think it just defies logic, because to build on Madushka's point about Will Alagay, is that question at 3 and 4, he could potentially be the answer. We don't know, but he has the talent to bat up the order. He's not there yet, but why not give him a shot? Because if he doesn't do it in the beginning of the innings, at least when he comes on and bowls, he's going to do something. He's a gun fielder, right? And it defies logic that these uber talented guys, and we're 6 months out from a World Cup, we should be giving them every shot possible to improve, because the amount and this is no offense to Dinesh Chandimal, but the amount that Will Alagay will improve compared to Dinesh Chandimal over 6 months is that it's not even a comparison. There is so much more learning for a player like that to do. And I don't know where, because there was, from it's almost as if as we've gotten more competitive, as we've assembled more of these parts that Madushka's pointed out, we've become more regressive with our selection policies. Because in 2021 and 2022, we're like, doesn't matter what Potham does, even if he scores at 110, we're going to play him because we see him as the future. It doesn't matter what Charith Asalanka does, but we see him as the future. And now, because we are sort of bumping up against being a competitive team, that investment in the future has gone away.
Guys, should we take some comments? Oh, go, Madushka.
No, I was just going to say, just like there's a couple of things that have changed between when Pathum Nissanka was, and that's the selection, and that's the management, right? And people sit here and during election time they'll blame SLC and they'll blame if it's Tilanga or if it's Shami or whatever. These guys don't. It doesn't matter. Okay, what they do don't matter. It's who's in charge, and you can have your problems with what Mahela did, maybe tactically, whatever. People have their issues, fair enough. But he did invest in the future, and they stuck to a plan, and it worked. Mickey Arthur saw something in Pathum Nissanka, and during Mickey Arthur's time, those first 10 ODIs, Nissanka didn't do anything, but they stuck with him, and it's paid off. I think right now, you rightfully said, because we are a team that's coming together, the parts are there. Suddenly, they're a bit afraid of making mistakes, and what they really want is, okay, we're going to stick with these players and we're going to back them, but let's hope they work out. And if you happen to stick with the right players, that will actually work out. But sadly, Pathirana is not getting no game time. Ishan Malinga, no game time. Ishan Malinga got game time in the ODIs and he didn't impress, but ODIs aren't his bread and butter. So it's a different sport. So yeah, it's that. So yeah, we can take some questions.
Listen to Lycon wrote, how bad number 4 has been. I just want someone who will fight and value his wicket with no past trauma or failure. He suggested 3 names: Angelo Willalagate and Janeth Lianagate. Just like I said, our condolences to Janeth Lianagate, because obviously his dad passed away yesterday. That was on commentaries and across social media. I doubt he listens, but if he does listen, then pass those on. I do think there's a World Cup on the horizon, so it means, Madushka, we've got to discuss whether Angelo gets the squad or not. For you, no?
So I recently watched Angelo. Actually, I was doing a bit of voice commentary on Sunday at Colts were playing BRC, and Angelo got 45 or 43 on a pretty sticky wicket, and I was like, oh, okay, he's gearing up for another Kettar Ramaran. It was he took a few catches. Listen, I think Angelo is a phenomenal cricketer. I think he's better than most that we've had, but we need to move past him. If he's not going to bowl, and if he's not going to bowl effectively, he's essentially a batter. And unless you're going to be the second coming of Sky and just clearing the boundaries, I'm sorry, you're not offering anything that, hell, even someone like Dinesh Chandimal is offering. So
I just think, imagine fast forward to March next year, or maybe early April. I haven't looked at the dates. So Ahmedabad, the boys have made it to the final. Like, it's India versus Sri Lanka. You want Angelo in that dressing room, right? He's our big show, right? He's our Glenn Maxwell. He's the guy who's going to be out there on one leg, because he's been on one leg for about 10 years now. Like, calming the boys down, chilling them out.
This is what it is, Mark. This is how it's going to happen. Will is going to play at 4, and he's going to have a big series, and then he's going to he'll be abducted by aliens. I won't say any other bad things are going to happen to him. He'll be abducted by aliens before the final, and then who do we bring in to replace him? Angelo. That's the only way I see him in.
So it's a reverse 2011 World Cup.
Exactly.
So Angelo comes in instead of going up. Okay.
instead of going out, and he gets his revenge for that game.
Now, but listen, there's honestly, for me, there's no point discussing it. If management decides they want to go back to him, they will go back to him. There's nothing you or I or the Almighty above can do about that. That might happen. That said, there's plenty of talent that we can discuss, and I think even Lianage, man, I don't know if he's a T20 prospect, because I don't think we need more players who will
Dot
anchor the
balls,
innings.
dot ball. We don't need dot
And,
ball
and
merchants, man.
no, what we need is what Bangladesh did today. So if you
Yep.
actually noticed in that power play, when I think Tushara and Binura both quite well kept it tidy, Bangladesh scored 47 runs in the power play. 26 of those came from singles and twos,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's essentially how they shifted the pressure. And then the first over after the power play, Tanzid had gotten his eye in.
Mm-hmm.
Asalanka decided, hey, let's try to sneak in an over. And he's done this many times successfully. But this time, Tanzid just took him to the cleaners because he got his eye in and he did it. And I think if we could have done that same thing, okay, you lose Kusal early, fine. That happens. Nisanka is playing well. He's got his eye in. He was middling the ball regularly. So at that point, when uh, KJP comes in, does he need to go for that shot? Actually, no. I mean, to be fair, he was defending off the back foot and he got done in by one that skid on. But even then, like, you need to know how to play those deliveries. You need to go across the
Mm-hmm.
line, move across, work it into space. You don't play it outside like it's a test match, and then you're at the mercy of the delivery. Both Asalanka and him got caught by two really good deliveries from Mahedi. So I think our batters need to figure out how to find the space more effectively and work those singles when the bowlers are bowling well.
Yes, Madushka,
Because
I
when
was going
they're
to
not,
say. Oh, sorry.
no, go on.
I was going to say, because even someone like Charith Asalanka, right, to pick someone who is in decent form and has shown that he can play T20 cricket, when he gets in, it's not a dot because he is looking to find a single and finds the fielder. It's a intentional dot, right? It's just get my head forward, get my foot forward, and block the ball. And that is too many of these, like, once Kusal and Potham get out, it's like, oh, we need to like protect the tail, right? It's once we get to 3, we're starting about thinking about protecting the tail, and that's not a winning formula in T20 cricket. I'd rather see someone hole out deep for the first ball than to just dot it up and get 3 from 11. Speaking of that, I want to bring this up because I've
Yeah.
been thinking about this. Vishen Halambage and his talent level.
Just before you answer this, Madushka, I assume you'll answer it because I haven't seen him in the flesh like I imagine you have.
No,
Hello,
I honestly can't. Hello.
Hello has written, Vishal Halambage smashed 73 or 43 versus CCC in the final. What does more he needs to get a charge? Deekshana Praveen also suggested the same kind of thing. I mean, there's also... I'll throw a couple more names before we get your take on this, because we've been talking about this, I feel like, for ages now, about these players. Nawindu, Fernando, this is J2792, Pavan Ratnaik and Lasith Cruz Pillay should be in the team. I mean, it feels to me, Madushka, that there is players banging the door down to at least get a look into that squad. But for the moment, they're not there. There's also, actually, Didith has also said, speaking of Bardaka, didn't our T20 team honestly look better last year against Windies, New Zealand at home and away? Madushka, what's your take on these youngsters that are coming in? Does Bardaka Rajapaksa need to look for someone to look after his 20 dogs because he might be going to play some international cricket soon? And what about Vishan Halambage?
Right. So a couple of things. I think when you are analyzing the Sri Lankan cricket team and any batters playing anywhere in Sri Lanka, you got to look at the pitches that they're playing on, right? When Pathum Nisanka scored his double 100, that pitch was phenomenal. It was one of the best pitches that have ever been produced in Sri Lanka. and just because in that match Afghanistan got their highest score ever as well, looking to chase that down. So it was a great pitch. Then when you look at the New Zealand and West Indies tours of last year, those were not good pitches, or not good batting pitches. And whenever you look at these guys who score in domestic cricket, whether it's a good pitch or a bad pitch, the again the problem arises: what is the quality of the bowling, and what's the pressure level, and how are they going to respond to playing in international cricket? Because that step up is always going to be there, especially in subcontinental club cricket to international cricket. Which is why someone like Dunit Walalage is kind of like lightning in a bottle, where you've put this young kid straight from the under 19 team into the international side, and he's performed under pressure. He's taken on India. You look at him and you feel like he belongs, or he at least thinks he belongs. So in that sense, listen, you could try Vishen Halambage, you could put a Pavan Ratnayake, you could put a Surya Bandara, Nuwanidhu Fernando. He just batted all day against Australia A to play out a draw in Darwin. There are a lot of players that can come in. But listen, a World Cup year is not the time to bring in someone unless they are an extraordinary talent. I think when they brought in Avishka on the verge of the 2019 World Cup, where no one had even heard of him, and they just suddenly parachuted him into the side, gave him his debut. I don't think you're going to see that. It's not a Theo Walcott going to the World Cup thing. Like it's a pretty rare instance. I think we've got good players that can do it, but again, they're not being taught to think on the fly. These are experienced players. Why is no one understanding the state of the pitch? Because those skills will translate even onto good wickets. Because okay, let's take a scenario. We're playing India at somewhere in India. It's a batting paradise. Okay, it's a batting paradise, and you've got Bumrah and Siraj coming at you, right? They're bowling tight lines. It's nipping. They're getting the ball to move off a flat deck. At this point, every brain in your cell is saying, "Let's try to take him on," right? But if you try to take him on as Nisanka, as Kusal, as whoever, you might edge it, you might get out, and it could be another 50 all out. But if you decide, okay, we don't really have to take them on in that way. Why can't we just we're good enough. We can maneuver the ball into some space, run the ones, make them into twos, right? And then get the bowlers to do something different. Because that's all you need. Once they start doing something a little bit different because they realize they're not troubling you in that way, then you get the boundary of the over, and then you start to snowball that into the bigger overs, right? That's what Bangladesh did so well today, because it's not like our guys started off badly. We got a wicket first ball. We nearly had Lytton with a bit of shit umpiring, and then we were keeping things tight. But then they got their eye in and they destroyed us. And I think that's what it is. And the only time that we destroy any opposition with our batting nowadays, it seems to be when Kusal Mendis gets going. If Kusal Mendis gets going, whether it's T20, whether it's ODIs, it's wonderful, because again, he's I don't know what it is. He's unlocked something like that little pivot shot that he plays where he bends his back leg and he takes a good length delivery and he pulls it over square leg. That's a lovely shot, and it's such a difficult shot to defend against, right? And he's mastered that, and it's a great get out shot. But again, not everyone's going to be able to do that, so everyone needs to find their different ways of doing it, and that's where the coaching staff needs to work, rotating the singles, reducing dot balls. We've been talking about this for years, right? And it doesn't happen. So instead, we're stuck in the situation. Yeah.
Can I bring up one comment from Sachin, which I think kind of gets to the crux of it, right? Because I think it's right to say that we've kind of moved on. We're not the team we were even going into the last T20 World Cup, right? Sachin has said Sanath's management is all about playing to strengths. That's what he talked so much even before becoming the coach. Our team should learn to play according to situations, grounds, pitches, opposition. I think we're seeing too much now the we've over-lent into the play into our strengths. We're not doing enough homework. Once the opposition does something that we're not expecting, then we kind of start to kind of crumble a little bit. I don't know, and I'll get your take on this, Madushka, whether you think that this management team can fix that, if they can adapt their thinking to it, because they have data analysts that we know all this. We know that they've got people there who can do the work, but they're clearly asking for different briefs from the people, is my opinion on it. And we're only going to win games if one of our players decides to have a day out, or B, if the opposition kind of works to what we kind of estimate that they might do in the least sophisticated estimation possible of basically, I just looked at some of their scorecards, this is what they do, right?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of a macro look on Sanath and what I think is happening. So prior to Sanath coming in, whoever the coach was, whether it was Graham Ford, Mickey Arthur, Chris Silverwood, Mahela in the Shadows, whoever it was, there was always this sort of needling media presence, outside presence, vested interest presence, where anytime the bad result came in, bam, 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 people on their typewriters, sorry, not on their laptops, whatever it is, typing it on Twitter about the very, very overly critical about the bad things. I mean, we won the Asia Cup. We got to another Asia Cup final the following year. Yes, we erased that Asia Cup performance, the final performance from our memories, but there was a lot of good, but none of that's been spoken about. And every result that Sanath has had since, it seems like whenever anyone kind of talks about it, they talk about it in like this, oh, it's amazing what we've done with this team. You know, they were so rubbish before, and now, and the reality is we've not been like we've had rubbish performances. We've always had rubbish performances. Like even under Sanath, we've had rubbish performances. Like that Australia Test series was pretty rubbish, right? So we've had bad performances here and there. I mean, can you just? But I'll just ask you to like have a little thought experiment. Imagine that this wasn't Sanath managing team, and these results had taken place to Bangladesh. All right, you'd expect a sack, wouldn't you? At some point.
And this is the thing, Madushka, because they say they've won 12 home series in a row, but that goes back to 2021, long before Sanath.
So there is a certain level of there's a bit of gaslighting. There's like a bit of disassociation. But here's where I think it's heading though. So just after Sanath took over, all the talk was, or just before, all the talk was improving pitches, better batting pitches. That was the talk. Sanath comes in, big 180. They start producing spin heavy tracks. We get a few good results, right? I remember asking a question from Upul Taranga, and they were like, yeah, we're looking at immediate results now, but don't worry, domestic pitches are going to be changed. I went and watched some matches. Domestic pitches haven't been changed, but they are, to their credit, they've done something pretty cool, which is that there's no more tosses in domestic cricket matches this season. They've removed the toss, which means the away team gets to decide whether they bat or ball, right? So presumably that will force teams to make fairer pitches. Okay, fine. But the good thing is this entire series, they've been talking about better batting tracks. Even ahead of the ODIs, when they were playing at the Ketarama, the talk was, we expect a good batting wicket. Did we get a good batting wicket? No, we didn't. And they were shocked by it. But the curators aren't magicians. They can't just turn this into a flat track overnight. Like, you've got to relay that wicket, and it'll take a while to change a Ketarama, right? So I think there is work there. But I think what the bad thing with Sanath is that some of his ideas are old school. The good thing with Sanath is that I feel like he's going to get a longer leash than any coach that we've ever had. I think he's just like, he would have to have a monumentally bad couple of results and a World Cup and another World Cup probably before he himself decides to remove himself. That is what I feel like the management team is right now.
I think I've said it before, and don't just like what I'm going to say is going to be disrespectful, but I obviously, as a Sri Lankan person, Sanath is one of my heroes, right? And as a Sri Lanka fan, right? But Sanath Jayasuriya has the same like relationship with Sri Lanka that I can only think of two other people in the whole world which it compares to: Diego Maradona and Hulk Hogan. Like those guys could do kind of anything and kind of just get away with it because they were heroes once. Like it's that kind of thing, right? And that slightly does, like, as a fan and as a journalist as well, it kind of what slightly worries me a little bit, because no one should ever have that much kind of rope, as it were. Not, but you know, I think it's. I think the thing that I think is it's right that at this stage of a kind of coach's tenure, we should expect a bit of consistency with results. And I think we've kind of definitely with T20 cricket and with Test cricket, we're not there. I was thinking about it this morning when everything was collapsing, and I also just think the job to manage all three formats at the way cricket is currently, the state cricket's in, is actually a ludicrous job for one management team to do. Right?
Yeah, I agree. It's very tough, but I think we just have to kind of ride out this Sanath train and see where it goes, because he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And all we can hope is that he learns as they go along.
Yeah. So
Which is
basically, Madushka, what you're saying is Sanath is a bit like AI. We have to trust that they're going to be a benevolent overlord, and that that
it's
Sri
what it
Lanka
is.
cricket won't be. Yeah.
It's what it is, because I think like it was a wild thing to do. I mean, very Sri Lankan thing to do. But you had Mahela Jayawardene, who was kind of auditioning for a role as head coach, and they just completely sidelined him.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's won numerous IPLs, right?
Hmm.
Who's considered one of the finest tactical minds in the sport, and he was completely kind of steamrolled out of the way because there were some bad results. But the thing is, you're never going to get that level of clarity when you ask Sana the question as you would Mahela. But what you can only hope is that at some point Sana catches up to what modern cricket is.
So I wonder if there's a thing with Mahela. There was a desire, right, as Madushka's pointed out, to play modern cricket. And the way the Sri Lankan team is currently constituted, we were going to have to take steps back before we went forward. Giving a rope to younger players who have the skill set, who are going to get smashed around, right, occasionally, does not look good. So what I see the Sanath, it's putting the plaster over the wall. It's covering up.
So I think you two have been slightly a bit over harsh and over critical, Seth. Even after I just said it's difficult to be critical of him, because I think his philosophy, if you were to, from a kind of coaching perspective, is basically to make the players feel as comfortable as they possibly can, and for them to develop and figure it out, which kind of mirrors his own career, right? Because he starts off as a very mediocre player before he blossoms into this absolute run machine. Right, and if you look at the trajectory of a number of our players, that's of our more established players, that's kind of how it's worked, right? Where Mahela was definitely trying to go, right, this is our puzzle.
Yeah.
These are the bits that are missing. This is how I'm gonna. He had a more analytical approach where he was kind of, to use a kind of Moneyball analogy, he was like, right, we don't have the finisher that we need who's guaranteed to get us 30 runs in the last 6 overs or last 3 overs. So because of that, I'm going to build in 3 players who could potentially do that, right? Or this is how I'm going to get wickets in the middle overs. Where Sanath is more a bit like, right, I'm going to nurture out, get the players to reach the peak of their ability. I think that the kind of difference is, though, with the way the cricket business has gone, is that even SLC, if you look at someone like Patarana, who, SLC have very little, don't have as much control over his career as they would have done, Lasith Malinga is kind of, I suppose, his kind of slinging predecessor. And because of that, he's going to develop in a way that's almost more suited for what CSK want of him. There's all there is an argument that it doesn't matter where he develops or who develops it, because we just want him to be the best player he could possibly be. But CSK have a very clear philosophy of how they want to play cricket, and it feels to me that maybe Sri Lanka don't. And the smart thing to do, the way the rest of the world is doing it, is everyone else has that kind of clear philosophy, right? And that's where we're kind of a little bit lacking. But that said, I think I think it's quite easy to sit here and go, yeah, Sanath's old school, when on some level, on some degree, it has worked, because the core of our team is kind of better today. Obviously, we just lost, so it's difficult saying that, than they were coming out of the back of that last World Cup.
So here's the one compliment that I'll give him, right? Because I agree with that. I agree with his man management style. I think he does. I think the players do like playing for him, and I think the players almost feel like they're disappointing their father when they don't perform.
Yeah,
like that's the vibe I get. It's like they just feel so bad about their performance because they're disappointing one of their heroes. But I do think one thing that's happened by Sanath coming in is that he's neutralized two of the biggest things that in the past have derailed Sri Lankan cricket and whatever progress we've had, which is the media and the dissenting fans being amplified by said media. So because Sanath is someone that everybody loves, right, barring people like myself and Dom or whoever, where we're a little bit critical here and there, I think what that's done is that everyone's kind of on board. Like if you actually go on online and see, like there's not that much like massive discourse from like all of these the mainstream Twitter folks or the mainstream papers. You're not going to see articles, scathing anonymous articles in the Daily Mirror where they're just because we saw that a lot under previous management, where there would be they have some sort of I've seen this, that they have author names where these people don't exist, and it's published, and it's just it's a hit piece on a player or so on, and you don't get that anymore. So that is a pretty good result. And like Mark, you rightfully said, I think Sanath has brought a lot of good qualities out of the players. More than that, sometimes they get it right. They brought Dasun back, right? I never thought we'd see him back. I thought when the new selectors came in, when Sanath came in, they were just going to shaft all of these scapegoats out of the way, and we'll never see them again. But they brought Dasun back. They brought Chamika back, and now Dasun, I hope he's hit himself into the team on a more regular basis, because we finally shown, listen, this is the guy. This is the guy that if you want a low order power hitter, this is the guy, and you just got to give him the ball a little bit. So yeah, I think it's good. I think ideally you would want maybe better analysis and maybe someone pushing Sanath a little bit more to think in a certain way. But he himself has spoken about how he loves data. He talks about it all the time. So I can't understand why they're making some of these mistakes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go on, Dom.
Well, we know who the analyst is. It's Jahan Mubarak. You see him with the computer and so.
And he's such a lovely guy as well. So like he's a smart dude.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right, get into the analytics in real time. Like, really, how much does that affect the game, right? What are you going to do? Shout to Charles, who's midway through his over, right? If you
remember
roll
the
there, they're going to get him
remember
6. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That was a Silverwood thing, right? But again, that was something that they've talked about beforehand, and they're like, right, this is when you see C2, it means do this. You can't just like if there's no numbers, how they get the matches onto the field? I don't know. Guys, should we leave it wrap it up there today? This has been kind of Murley and Madushka. Thank you for joining us today. Someone's asked, I'll just finish on this. Sanira said, will this result affect the proposed short series between India and Sri Lanka? Well, I have absolutely no idea. I have sent questions to people
I would
asking how confirmed this is or not, but
I
who
would love
knows?
to see it. I would love to see it just because obviously they want to create batting tracks, right? But they'll never do that against India. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna be an
exactly.
absolute dust bowl.
But
We'll
Madushka,
be facing 300 if we do that. If we
the absolute beauty of Sri Lankan cricket is today's been a dark day for Sri Lanka. We lost the T20 series to Bangladesh, a team really we should never lose against. And India, one of the greatest, this is one of the greatest T20 sides of all time, right? They're potentially about to arrive, and I fully believe because of the way Sri Lankan cricket is that we can somehow get an 11 together that will just
Oh
somehow
yeah.
manage to get a series win. Jeffrey Wad to say with a eighth like at some point in Dambula, and we'll get over the line somehow. That is the nature of Sri Lankan cricket, right? And that is the why we're here. I think that is the little bit of encouragement that Lister Lycan was asking for.
Oh yeah.
Just remember, right? If you're Sri Lanka, I always think absolutely everything that could possibly have happened to a place has happened to Sri Lanka, right? When we weren't fighting each other, the sea came to try and take us away. We will come back from this because that is what happens, right? No one could ever. The
And
thing we might not have is we might not have a finisher. We might not have somebody who can just hold up one end at the moment, but we have a spirit like no other country in the world does, and we will never know when we are defeated, and we will return. I'm sure about it.
and one thing I would like to just sort of point out is when people talk about like losing to Bangladesh, and I think everyone needs to kind of take a step back and be like, listen, these are all elite athletes, and you got to give credit where credit's due. They played well, and I think yes, it kind of feels like losing to your little brother. I remember when I was in my teen years, and my younger brother beat me in Halo 2 for the first time, and it's a brutal feeling. You feel it, and it's annoying. Controllers break, like things happen, but I think in the cold, harsh light of day, you got to just look at it and be like, yeah, listen, they played well. There's no shame in losing. Yeah, there would have been shame in losing to Bangladesh circa 2002, but there's no shame losing to this Bangladesh side. These are, I think, 6 out of the 11 players that played here played for the under 19 team that went to the final,
yeah.
right? This is a pretty high caliber Bangladesh outfit. There's a lot of talented players there. So it was a very challenging series. They fought really well, and they earned their win. They made us make mistakes. But if anybody wants a positive, it's we're arguing about who to put in, but we've got a lot of players to put in. Even the guys who are in the side are quality players. If everybody in this team clicks, what Asalanka said might be right. This might be the best 11. The problem is we need to figure out who the best 11 is that can perform most consistently. So when Kusal doesn't perform, when Pathum doesn't perform, who can take up the mantle? And right now, we don't have people who are performing at a consistent enough juncture. So that's why we get our collapses. So work towards that. And yeah, I mean, we're not going to win we might not win the World Cup, but I think we can have a much better
But what
performance
do
than
you
we
mean
did.
you don't think we're going to win the World Cup? Madushka, do you not want to come back on Muralian? Wow, we're going all the way to Ahmedabad on this show. Like, oh, geez. Just, do you know what?
I
When
still think the LPL is amazing.
the LPL is amazing, but when I see Narendra Modi and AKD driving around a little golf cart, waving at the crowds in Ahmedabad, I'm going to be thinking about you saying, we're not going to win it. We're not going to win it. When Angelo
Honestly,
comes out to get his
I
celebrity
hadn't, I
award,
hadn't given thought. I hadn't given thought to AKD carrying the World Cup trophy. That is going to. Oh. That would be amazing.
Can you imagine? It's gonna be incredible.
Mark, you have to thank Madushka for saying that they're not going to do it, because when you speak it into impossibility, that's when it's most likely to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Right, guys, let's leave it there. We've been on for about an hour now. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. Also, I mean, if you've made it all the way through and you haven't subscribed, there's really nothing else we can do. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back. I think we've got Prad coming back on Monday to talk about it from a more analytical perspective, what he thinks Sri Lanka are doing right and what he thinks they're doing wrong. If you look at his Twitter feed, he thinks they're doing a lot wrong. So we'll be back on Monday, and we'll see you all then. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Yeah.